Hey, how was your day? Tonight's story is about a room. Not a haunted mansion, not an abandoned building, just one cheap room in Seoul. The kind of room you find online when you do not have much money, when you are new to the city, and when you tell yourself, it only has to be good enough for now. But before I tell you what happened inside that room, remember this. If you ever go to look at a place, and the person you brought with you stops at the front door and says, I'm not going in, do not ask too many questions. Just leave. The man in this story grew up in a small town far from Seoul. After high school, he worked at a factory. Then he went to the military. After that, he had saved just enough money to try something different. He did not have a clear plan. He only knew one thing. He did not want to go back to the factory. So, he came to Seoul. At first, he stayed with an old friend from his hometown. They had gone to the same elementary school, the same middle school, the same high school. In a small town, that means you know more about each other than you want to. You know whose father drinks, you know whose mother left, you know which family has money, and which family everyone whispers about. And this friend came from one of those families people whispered about. His grandmother, people said, had once been a shaman. Not the clean tourist version of a shaman, the old village kind, the kind people went to when they were desperate, and looked down on when they were not. His father had gone in the opposite direction. He became a pastor, maybe out of faith, maybe out of rebellion, maybe because he had grown up watching his mother be treated like something dirty. The friend did not call himself special. He did not say he could see ghosts, but sometimes, around certain places or certain people, he felt something, a pressure, a wrongness. And the man in this story had known him long enough to take that seriously, because when they were younger there had been incidents, things neither of them liked talking about. So, when this friend became quiet, it meant something. When he suddenly refused to move, it meant something. At the time, the man was looking for a room. He had checked the cheapest options first, tiny rooms, windowless rooms, old goshiwon rooms where the hallway smelled like cigarettes and instant noodles, where the walls were thin enough to hear someone breathing on the other side. He knew he could not live like that. Then he found a listing online, a no-deposit room. Not free, of course. The monthly rent was still a little high for him, but the photos looked clean. The room was on the second floor. It had a window. It looked like somewhere a person could live without feeling buried alive. The current tenant answered his message and said he could show the room around 8 that evening. He asked his friend to come with him. His friend complained, but he came. They took the subway north, toward the edge of the city where the buildings begin to feel lower and the mountains feel closer. They arrived too early, killed time in a PC room, then walked to the bus stop the tenant had named. It was already dark. The tenant had told them what he would be wearing, a blue padded jacket, so they waited. A village bus pulled in, the doors opened, and then a man in a blue padded jacket stepped down onto the street. That was when the friend cursed under his breath, not loudly, just one sharp word. The tenant greeted them like any normal person showing a room. He talked quickly. He said the place was clean. He said rooms like this did not stay available for long. He said the neighborhood was quiet, the price was fair, and whoever took it next would be lucky. Nothing he said was strange. That was what made it hard. Sometimes danger is easier to recognize when it looks like danger. This man looked ordinary. He led them through a narrow residential street toward an old multi-family house. This man looked ordinary. He led them through a narrow residential street toward an old multi-family house. It was not an apartment building. It was one of those older houses that had been divided into several small units. The second floor had been split into separate rentals. In front of the house, there was a large persimmon tree. Beside it, an exterior metal staircase led up to the second floor. The kind of staircase that rings under your feet. Tang, tang, tang. The tenant started toward the stairs, but the friend stopped. His friend was standing at the edge of the yard, staring at the house. I'm not going in, he said. The man laughed a little because he thought maybe his friend was annoyed. Just come up. It will take 5 minutes. But the friend shook his head. No, you go. Look quickly, I'll wait here. He said it quietly, and he would not step forward. That was the first moment the man felt something cold move through him. Not fear yet, more like the memory of fear. The memory of all the strange things he had experienced with this friend when they were younger. He wanted to ask what was wrong, but the tenant was watching. So the man forced himself to smile and followed the tenant up the stairs. The metal steps rang beneath them. Tang, tang, tang. Halfway up, he looked down. His friend was crouched near the yard, looking at his phone. The tenant unlocked the door. Inside, the room looked smaller than the photos. Of course it did. Rooms always look bigger in photos. Still, it was not terrible. There was a narrow kitchen hallway when you entered, and a bedroom immediately to the left. The wallpaper was old but clean. The floor looked recently wiped. There was no obvious mold smell. The man did what people do when they do not really know how to inspect a room. He turned on the faucet. He checked the water pressure. He opened a cabinet. He looked at the window. He nodded as if he understood things. The tenant kept talking. He talked about the rent, the neighborhood, the other tenants, how convenient the room was, how he was only leaving because of personal reasons. The man was listening with half his mind. The other half was still outside with his friend, who had refused to enter. Then he opened the bedroom window. From there he could see the metal staircase they had just climbed. He leaned closer to check the view, and from outside he heard it. Tang, tang, tang. Someone was coming up the stairs. For 1 second he felt relieved. He thought, good. His friend changed his mind, so he looked out the window. No one was there. The staircase was empty. The yard below was empty except for the friend, still down there, still looking at his phone. Tang. The sound stopped. The man felt the skin tighten along his back. The tenant was still talking behind him, still using that same ordinary voice. The window gets good air, he said, and because only this unit uses the stairs, it is private. Private. That word stayed in the man's head. He stepped away from the window and took out his phone. There were messages from his friend. The first message was a Bible verse. Just the verse, no explanation. That is where I want to pause for now, because the second message was not a warning, it was an instruction. That is where I want to pause for now, because the second message was not a warning, it was an instruction. Before I tell you what the second message said, remember this. His friend was still outside. He had refused to enter for a reason. And now he was sending a Bible verse instead of an explanation. The second message was shorter. Tell him I am waiting for you. Say you have to go. Read the verse in your head and come down now. The man stared at the screen. His mouth went dry. His friend did not joke like that. Not about this. Not when he was standing alone outside a strange house, refusing to enter. The tenant was still talking. If you want it, you should decide quickly. Someone else might come tomorrow. The man put his phone away. He tried to keep his voice normal. Sorry, my friend is waiting, so I think I should go. The tenant smiled. Already? Yes, I just need to think about it. You saw the room. It is good, right? Rooms like this are hard to find. The words were ordinary. That was the problem. He was only saying what any tenant might say. But now, every sentence felt like a hand on the back of the man's neck. Stay. Look more. Decide now. Do not go down. The man apologized again and moved toward the door. For a second he thought the tenant might block him. He did not. He only stood there, watching. The man stepped out onto the landing. The metal stairs were waiting. He started down. Tang, tang, tang. Every step sounded too loud, and the staircase felt longer than it had on the way up. There was a turn in the middle where the stairs changed direction. At that turn, he made the mistake of looking back. The bedroom window was above him, and the tenant was standing there, looking down at him through the glass, not waving, not smiling, just watching him leave. The man almost ran the rest of the way down. His friend was outside, pale, sweating, lips moving like he was praying. The man grabbed him. His friend did not resist. They ran. Neither of them said anything until they reached the main road. They got into a taxi and went straight back to the friend's place. During the ride, the man's phone vibrated. A message from the tenant. Call me when you decide. He blocked the number. His friend kept praying under his breath the entire way home. Only after they were back inside did the man finally ask him, "What did you see?" His friend took a long time to answer. Then he said, "When that man got off the bus, there was someone behind him." The man said he had seen people on the bus too. His friend shook his head. "No, not like that." He said there had been a black figure inside the bus, the shape of a man, standing where no one should have been standing, watching the tenant, smiling at him. And after the tenant got off, that black figure got off too. It did not walk beside him. It followed from far behind, all the way through the narrow streets, all the way to the house. The friend said he did not know what it was, but he felt one thing clearly. If they showed that they had noticed it, if they looked at it directly, if they reacted too much, it might stop following the tenant and start following them. That was why he stayed outside. That was why he sent the verse. Not to be dramatic, not because he knew exactly what to do, because it was the only thing he could think of that might pull his friend out. After that night, the man did not go look at rooms alone. Every time he found a listing, he dragged that same friend with him. He paid him back with meals. Meat, usually. Because how do you repay someone for standing outside a house and seeing the thing you could not see? The strangest part is this. He never found out what was inside that room. Maybe nothing. Maybe the room was normal. Maybe the tenant was normal too. Maybe he was just another person trying to move out of a cheap room in a hard city. But sometimes, that is not the question that matters. Sometimes the question is not, is this place haunted? Sometimes the question is, what came here with the person showing it to me? So if you ever go to see a room at night and the photos look clean and the rent is just low enough, bring someone with you. And if that person stops at the door, believe them, because some rooms do not warn you directly. They let someone else see the warning for you. I will bring you another story tomorrow.